Hello everyone, and welcome back to the YumYum Report, bringing you bite-sized updates from theme parks around Australia, as well as occasional updates from other parks around the world. Before we start, I'd like to give a special thanks to my channel members, Koala75 and Lee Donald. Thank you so much. This week we popped into Movie World for a quick update, and there are some new additions, which I'll get to later. Batwing, Spaceshot, and Superman Escape are still down for maintenance. These are both big drawcard attractions at the entrance of the park, so having them closed definitely does detract from the atmosphere and initial impression, but hopefully they're not closed for too long. It is the quieter season after all, and the parks here operate all year round, so we can't expect them to keep all the rides open 100% of the time. Although I do complain about the heat sometimes here on the Gold Coast, I am super grateful that we live in a place where parks operate year round rather than seasonally. Although the park is entering its quieter season and there's less guests visiting, it's great to see that there's lots of characters still out and about on Main Street and in other areas of the park. It looks like they've added some new henchman characters to the Joker and Harley Quinn photo opportunity, which I think is a really cool touch. I know that they hire a lot of regular performers to work at Movie World, so it's great that they're giving them work to support them through the off-season. Still no updates on the old studio commissary building. Some time ago they were doing some demolition work on the inside, which kind of points to the idea that they might be bringing a new food outlet to Movie World, which would be a very exciting addition. We had a quick look inside one of the shops, and someone in my group pointed out these cool film cell bookmarks, which I'm a big fan of. This Dobby one was very interesting. I'm a big fan of this shop in particular at Movie World because it leans more heavily into the film-centric side of the park, which is the main drawcard for me. I'm a huge film buff. In fact, films are actually my main interest. Theme parks are more of an adjacent interest, so seeing stuff like this makes me really happy, and I wish they would have more of it at the park. Next we headed over to WB Kids, which was very quiet, but once again the performers were out and about making the environment extremely lively and entertaining. Sylvester seemed to be playing some of the games and won one of the prizes, which was nice. Like I've said many times, the performers here are my absolute highlight. I think they add such an amazing flair to the park and bring so much life and entertainment. Yes, I do enjoy the rides, but sometimes I just prefer to sit around and enjoy the atmosphere, and the characters just make it such a fun environment to spend time in. It seemed like the whole Looney Tune gang was out and about in WB Kids, having some crazy antics, which was extremely entertaining. I'm not quite sure what was happening here. Daffy Duck was on the run and Sylvester was chasing him around. As an introvert, I always find it very entertaining watching the performers, and I'm always blown away by how they can draw you into the interactions without necessarily making you feel awkward or nervous. Bugs Bunny was not too happy with what was going on, apparently. Daffy Duck seemed to have fallen over and slipped onto the floor, and they actually scared a little kid who was crying. Seeing the Looney Tunes characters perform, it definitely made me feel like they need a dedicated Looney Tunes show in the park. When the performers can kind of thrive like this, it brings a really whimsical and spontaneous energy to the park, which, as you can see, can reframe a very quiet and mundane day into something much more exciting and memorable. Lots of happy faces and people enjoying the amazing spontaneity and improvisation from these performers. We also noticed that there's a new crane behind the stunt show area, which you can see from other areas of the park. It looks like they're building some kind of new building behind the area. I'm not sure what they're going to use this for, maybe for storing the cars or other stunt-related equipment. I personally hope that this hints at a possible future change to the stunt show experience, which I am a fan of, but it has been kind of unchanged for some time now, and I feel like it's in need of a new burst of life. What changes would you like to see? Let me know in the comments. I'm not sure if this is new, but one thing I noticed at the Sweet Treats food outlet was that they actually sell coffee here. I'm not sure how long they've been doing this for, but I definitely don't remember this being here in the past. I'm a big fan of this edition myself. Next we made our way past the Scooby-Doo Spooky Coaster, and as usual it's very hard to tell what's actually happening inside. However, this ride is supposed to open again in late 2025, which I'm very excited for. It's probably my most anticipated addition to the theme parks this year. Next we moved along to the DC Supervillains Unleashed area, which is very quiet and once again quite eerie. Everything's closed up and There's not many of the original effects working in this area. It must have been a few weeks ago now that Doomsday Destroyer vanished from the park mysteriously, and we still haven't heard any news from Village Roadshow or Movie World themselves as to what might be happening in this area. But they have been doing some quiet work on this area, moving bits and pieces around, and also doing some touch-ups to some of the buildings, which I'll get to soon. Which makes me wonder, what do they have planned, and why are they being so secretive about it? Well, maybe secretive isn't the best word for it. The companies don't need to reveal all of their plans as such, but it definitely does help when you have many enthusiasts visiting the park who have sentimental attachment to some of these areas and rides. So just to have something kind of vanish and not really give away any information is a little bit sad for the people that maybe had an attachment to this ride. I know I'm not the first person to come up with this idea, but I definitely feel like a Willy Wonka themed area would be amazing for this space, with some trackless dark ride or a river ride. I did ask what changes people would like to see to the area, and I got some interesting comments. Dane's Theme Park Life said Zamperla Nebula. Yeah, this is definitely a cool idea, Dane. It would definitely bring back that kinetic energy to the area. Also, shout out to Dane. He's an awesome guy with an amazing podcast where he interviews people who work behind the scenes on some of the attractions and theme parks around Australia, so you should 100% check him out. Very informative. I feel like despite some obvious need for TLC in some areas, the DC Supervillains Unleashed area is actually in a great condition. The theming is really high quality. It just needs a little bit of rehab. Oz Thrill says, I'm sure it will be something really well researched and thought out like the last 6 new rides they've purchased. I'm not gonna get involved. Another idea that I really liked was from Harmony Breen, who says Barbie World, which, yeah, I could definitely see that happening. The Barbie movie was a huge success when it came out. It's got a very specific, iconic look to it, and a huge following, great characters, which would be huge potential for the performers. Yeah, great idea. One James Joker says, shaded seating area. Yes, the movie definitely does need a shaded seating area. Maybe not in this area though, James. I feel like there's another area of the park that would require just a little bit of shade. Koala75 says, not sure if there would be enough space, but a fun dark ride with immersive theming. Always wanted to try a haunted/mystic manor type ride. This would be a really great addition to the park. I feel like all of the theme parks on the Gold Coast are definitely missing a dark ride attraction, and some kind of haunted mansion ride would fit perfectly between the Scooby-Doo area and the Wild West Falls area. In fact, you could actually theme the ride to Scooby-Doo, which some might argue would be a strange and pointless addition to the park, but I personally feel like it would make use of one of Warner Brothers' most iconic assets and definitely add an additional attraction that might appeal to guests who don't necessarily want to go on roller coasters, because there are a lot of people that don't come to the parks for those attractions. Usually when there's talk of a new addition to a theme park, the first thing that people leap to is like some giga coaster or some giant thrill ride, which I would love to see some additions like that, but let's be real, Movie World is kind of front-loaded with a lot of roller coasters at the front of the park, and as you make your way to the back of the park, things become a bit more quiet and desolate, so I feel like they need to round out some of the selection of rides available at the park and fill in some of the gaps that are missing not only in the park, but also in Australia as a whole. This comment wasn't completely in response to my question, but it did come up on a different video that I posted, and I really like the idea. Brookie G said, not going to lie, I forgot the Doomsday Destroyer existed. Maybe a new area themed to Mad Max or the Matrix. Yeah, these are definitely really cool ideas, and I have thought about the Mad Max idea before, specifically in relation to the Stunt show. Obviously, Mad Max is an Australian film and has been enormously successful over the years and has proven to be an IP that people return to, and I would put Mad Max Fury Road as my favorite action movie of all time, and I would absolutely love to see something themed to that at Movie World, especially a stunt show. I think that would be amazing. The Matrix as well, I could also see that being a stunt show. I've never thought about that. I've watched The Matrix for the first time a couple of years ago, and obviously the stunts are the big iconic thing about that film, and it would be really cool to see some sort of show at Movie World. They have featured the Matrix characters in the past, but as far as I'm aware, they haven't had a specific stunt show or attraction themed to them. Another comment from Coaster Yap, who said, from their standards right now, probably nothing until 7 years later. Let's hope not. Hopefully something props up soon. I would have said with the way things have been tracking that I can't see anything coming in the foreseeable future, but I did notice a few changes, which I'll get to in a moment, which kind of fill me with a little bit more optimism, and I definitely think are signs that they are trying hard, and obviously the parks here have their limitations. One thing I forgot about was that we did go through a global pandemic, and that would have significantly shifted back some of the plans and developments that some of the parks had in mind. That doesn't make the park vulnerable from any criticism or bad reviews, but it is definitely something to keep in mind, and it definitely had a very real effect on not only theme parks but things all over the world. And one comment from Ryan, who says, a world-class seating area. Yes, Movie World definitely does need some more seating, particularly in the Wizard of Oz Precinct, as I mentioned earlier about James's comment. I know most people don't go to the parks and obsessively look at benches and seating, but as I've said many times, I kind of experience the parks in a very bizarre way. And yes, I definitely agree, there's definitely a lack of seating. Maybe not world-class seating, just basic seating will do. Jordan Not a Whale said, a secret entrance so I can get in for free, or a replica of the famous Willy Wonka experience. Which is ironic because I was just talking about that. Yes, I think those are both great ideas. Not so sure about the secret entrance. And now that you've commented it, everyone's going to know, so if they do add this, then it won't be so secret anymore, Jordan. Sorry. Claire Johnson 8 says, I reckon they'll put another flat ride that's DC villains themed. I'm thinking something like the Claw kind of thing, or like a chair swing ride. She also said, or they would repurpose the whole area and make a whole new themed land. There is a lot of space in that area, so they could knock down everything. What would be really cool is a Wild West themed indoor dark ride. Yes, I definitely agree, a new dark ride would be amazing for the area. And yeah, I'm definitely up for something Wild West themed. I think that would be a great addition as well. So many awesome ideas that you guys have sent through. Thank you so much for everyone who wrote through, sending your comments. I'm sorry if I missed any. I record these on a weird schedule, so I may have missed some of them, but I'll make sure to include any that I did miss in future videos. And I'll definitely continue to ask questions for future videos, so keep an eye on my social media, Instagram and YouTube community, which is where I'll post that information. As I mentioned, there have been some small changes, which I'll get to now. Nothing major, but definitely noticeable enough that it kind of fills me with a bit more optimism, such as this spot. What does it mean, you ask? Well, last week this exact spot had a huge section of the theming missing and peeling away, as you can see, and this is something we pointed out in our last visit, and they have since fixed that. Still a little bit of rubbish laying around the area, but I guess you can't stop people from littering, unfortunately. I will come back to check out this area and see if there's any progress, maybe next week or the week after, so stay tuned and we'll see what happens. One other detail is that the Lex Luthor statue display is now missing. It's unclear what their plan for these pieces is, if they're going to use them maybe in a future attraction, refurbish them, or use them in Fright Nights. As you can see, Lex Luthor is now standing behind the park, pointing somewhere unseen. Maybe he's just having a holiday. If you're enjoying the video so far, please feel free to leave a like or a friendly comment. Thank you. Next we had a look at the Wild West Falls area again, which this week had a very nice atmosphere. There was some music playing, which I pointed out last week, and this continues to add a nice touch to the area. I'm always confused when they don't play any music in some parts of the theme parks here, so I'm glad that they're playing this again. Originally they were playing the music from the 90s film Wild Wild West, which was a bit strange and outdated, but it's better than nothing, I suppose. And then after that it moved along to some more classic Western style music from cowboy films. I do wish that they had some performers or shows in this area, especially after visiting some other parts of the park earlier and seeing how well the performers improved the environment. Like if they had a sheriff character or some cowboys maybe coming to rob the saloon, something like that would just be a nice simple touch. And yes, you could argue that the area is too quiet for stuff like this, but you could also argue that it's quiet because there isn't really anything else going on except for Wild West Falls, which obviously is an amazing ride, but you need some other things in the area to keep people engaged. It would be cool as well just to even see some of the horses from the Outback Spectacular, maybe just having a stroll through the area. It really is such a well-themed spot in the theme park, and I often forget that it's actually here because it is tucked away right at the very back of the park. And it's a little bit of a walk, so sometimes I don't even come down this part of the theme park. But Wild West Falls has got to have one of my favourite facades of any attraction here in Australia. Also, a fun little fact I learned today in the Wild West Falls area is that owls actually live in cactuses. Next we made our way back towards the front of the park. I used my secret method of transportation, the portal, which takes me directly to Scooby-Doo's Panic Attack poster. That is the official name, by the way. I am curious what they're going to do with the theme of the ride when it does reopen, if they're going to keep the theming from the original 2000s film, which is a little bit outdated now. Do I care that it's outdated? No, it's a classic, it's iconic, it's ridiculous, an amazing film, and I hope that they keep it forever. Now, when you think of the Wizard of Oz, you think of the Yellow Brick Road, but there is an alternative method of entering the wonderful land of Oz, and it is the green alleyway with remnants of the Lethal Weapon Chinatown roofing. I do wish that they did something with this alleyway to kind of spruce it up a bit and theme it into the rest of the Wizard of Oz Precinct, which, as you can see, it's got such an amazing facade for the Emerald Palace. It's a great first impression. Which brings me to the next new change that they've made this week, which once again is a small change, but any change is welcome if it helps improve the park, and this week it's some new plants. I felt very strange walking around filming some plants, and I got a few interesting looks. But that's okay, sometimes you get some interesting looks from people when you're filming these updates, bringing you the latest scoop from the theme parks. No, but seriously, I do like these plants. I feel like they're a really nice addition to an already very impressive facade, and hopefully they don't suffer the same fate as the old plants, which were trampled by horrible guests who were looking for a place to sit and stomped on the plants. Bad guests. Dorothy was out and about. Always great to see Dorothy. I had a really nice time meeting her, and she approved of my green shirt representing the Emerald Palace. Although I have mixed thoughts on some parts of the Wizard of Oz Precinct, I can't deny that the performers are the highlight. Once again, this is a recurring theme for me, but I feel like they bring so much to the table. I got some really cool pictures with them, which is always fun. I do like their little photo opportunity that they have, but the Emerald Palace is so impressive. I'm curious why not as many people take the pictures with the palace in the background. I always love taking pictures of the performers here. And if you enjoy my photos, you can follow me on Instagram, where I post lots more short-form content and photography. Next we had a look in the Emerald Palace, and unfortunately there's still no seating in here, and it's still being used as a spot for people to lean on the walls and, as you can see, sit on the wizard's platform. It's such a strange mixed bag, isn't it? Because some of it looks really impressive, but it does feel a little bit rushed. I can't help saying it each time I visit, and I don't have any reason to say these things. Like, I'm not a malicious person. I just genuinely really hold the parks to a high standard, and I want to see them doing their best, so hopefully no one misconstrues me as being clickbaity or just saying things to get a reaction or being cynical. No, I really genuinely say these things from a place of love, because the parks mean so much to me. I've had a lot of formative experiences, and they've been a really special place for me, and I just want to see other people continue to form those special memories. Beep, beep, beep. Warp, warp, warp. But the highlight of my visit had to be this magnificent angle of the Cowardly Lion. Those are all the new additions that I noticed this week at Movie World. I have mentioned this before, but when you visit the park so frequently, it is really hard to tell if you're gaslighting yourself sometimes into imagining new additions to the park. An example of this is these plants here. I don't remember them. Are they new? Am I hallucinating? Backtracking a little bit, I had a look at the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory sweet shop. As I mentioned, I feel like a Willy Wonka attraction would be such a cool addition to the park, and I feel like they could sell so much chocolate and so much food if they incorporated some kind of food experience into a potential area. I also find it interesting that they haven't updated this to the recent Wonka movie, which came out last year, I think, or the year before perhaps. It's currently still themed to the Tim Burton version of the movie, which is not my favorite. I'm more of a Gene Wilder guy myself. Anyway, food for thought. Will we see a Willy Wonka edition being made to the park in the future? Or some updates? Who knows? Thank you so much for watching this YumYum Report from Movie World. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, feel free to leave a like, a friendly comment, or subscribe for more. I wonder what changes we'll see made to the park in the next few weeks. We'll see in the next YumYum Report. I'd like to give a special shout out to my channel members, Koala75 and Lee Donald. Thank you so much, Koala and Lee. Your support is extremely generous and it will help me to continue making high quality theme park content. The money I do earn from my channel helps me to save for better equipment, which will help to improve the overall quality of my videos. So thank you so much. And for anyone else who would like to support the channel, you can become a member, which will give you access to future videos early before the public, and you'll also receive a special shout out and thanks at the end of my videos. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.